We're doing it. we're here on Jeremiah Wonders with Khalyla, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
So excited. Very, very tranquil. Very hello.
I know I can't compete with Bobby. Do you want me to do
You don't have
backflips?
to. No, you don't have to. I asked you on for completely different reasons. I wanted Khalyla. I didn't want Bobby.
You wanted calm and tranquil and rational.
Pretty much.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean,
And possibly boring.
No, I don't think it will be boring. I think it's going to be, some of my favorite podcasts are with people who are not comedians because I'm around comedians all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's refreshing being around people who, are more adjacent to it than anything. Like you probably relate a lot to my wife because
I do. And I love Maya.
Yeah.
Maya's great.
Yeah.
When I see her, it's like an oasis, When I see her face at the Comedy Store, it's like, oh, look, somebody normal.
Yes.
Come to me.
Yes, can we talk, please? Get me out of this situation for a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Is it hard, do you think? Is it hard dating a comedian?
I think it's hard dating Bobby. I think at any profession he would have taken on, it would be hard to date him regardless.
Yeah.
He's just he's a funny, he's a strange guy.
He is a strange guy. I've known Bobby for, how long have I known Bobby now? Since 2000, probably 11, around there. That was the first time I met him. Mm-hmm. He pulled me aside at the Comedy Store. He used to watch the potluck open mic a lot back in the day.
On Mondays.
Yeah. Whenever he was single, he didn't have anything to do and he'd just come and chill in the back and just be cool to comics. He'd anytime somebody had a good set, he would, kind of coach them a little bit. And he pulled me aside one night and that's how I met him. And he gave me some words of wisdom. And because I was doing this stuff I was throwing myself all around the stage and falling all over the place. And it was getting a good response, but he pulled me aside. He's like, that was great, but, yeah, you're not going to be able to do that for very long. He's like, that has a very short shelf life, that stuff that you were doing up there. So you need to work on your writing a little bit more.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Did he take it well?
No, he was also very complimentary. He's like, you should be in a sketch show. I can see you doing characters, all this stuff. And that was everything that I wanted to hear from somebody like Bobby because I grew up watching him on Mad TV and stuff. So the fact that he was even at the open mic, I was just like, what is this guy doing here?
Yeah, he's pretty nurturing in that sense.
He's very nurturing.
And I think that maybe he has a bit of a hero complex.
Yeah.
Where I think he really likes the position of, which is not a bad thing to have. I think he likes the position of helping, newcomers.
Oh, yeah.
And, feeling that pride when they start to, thrive in the industry and somehow eclipse his own career. Because it's happened, and I'm sure he's talked about it where,
Yeah. I mean, everyone's always like, I used to take that guy on the
exactly.
road. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if I can imagine what that feels like.
It's a weird feeling, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
I remember the first time I met you.
Oh, yeah?
Bobby had given me a different description of the kind of comic that I was about to see. He said, this guy's really clean cut. He's a Christian. He's, you're from Kansas, right?
Yeah.
Kansas. And so I had this image. I was like, whoa, this is going to be some some country bumpkin talking about the Bible.
Yeah.
And basically you did 15 minutes about bumping cocaine. And I was like, wait, are you sure?
Yeah.
Is this the same person?
Is this the same guy that you described to me right before you prepped me on the show?
Yeah. And I was like, wow, Christians can talk about cocaine.
Yeah, Christians can be cool too, dude. It's eye-opening. That's so funny. Yeah, I probably met you at one of those, either at the Comedy Store or I think it was probably at the Brea Improv or somewhere like that.
Yeah, it was the Brea Improv.
Yeah, yeah. That was those always fun, weird weekends with Bobby.
Yeah. I mean, you go on the road with him a lot.
Yeah, I used to go on the road with him quite a bit. I've been going on the road a little bit more with Tony Hinchcliffe lately. It's so funny. Bobby came up to me recently. We did Kill Tony at the Comedy Store, and I roasted him a couple times as I was playing this king character. And he talked to me after the show. He's like, He's like, don't you ever do that to me again. And I was like, haha, not a problem. He's like, are you still being the king character? I was like, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's sensitive, you know?
I know. Even though he's like, he loves to dish it out. He'll pull you aside and be like, how dare you? You gonna turn on Papa?
Yeah. He always thinks like everyone jumps teams.
Yeah.
You know, and he's really confrontational about that.
Has he ever been that way with you? Like, you're like, oh, you're on their side?
Yeah. If I take any like opposing view,
Yeah.
let's say for instance, like if he's telling me like, yeah, this person said this, and in fact the other person was correct, I'm like, well, that person had a point. Yeah, then he goes off.
Yeah.
He's like, shut up, bitch, you don't know nothing.
Wow, spot on impression.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. But I want to talk more about you. I love Bobby. We'll probably be talking about him randomly in the podcast, but I'm a fan of you and your work on your podcast, TigerBelly.
Thanks.
Yeah. How long have you guys been doing that now?
I don't know, like 2.5 years.
Yeah. Is it weird that it's already been going that long?
It doesn't feel long.
Yeah.
We're almost 150 episodes in.
That's crazy.
And I'm telling you, Jeremiah, I still feel, some people like they get in front of a camera or they have a mic in front of their face, and eventually you get used to that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I'm not used to that stuff. Like I cannot, for some reason, like this wasn't my calling.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
some people just settle in, get comfortable, and they're like, yeah, I can do this forever.
Mm-hmm.
Like as much as I love our fan base and I love, I love so many aspects of it. When I'm done recording that hour, like I'm so exhausted.
Because
my
it
hands
takes
are
so
still
much out of you,
sweating.
yeah.
Yeah, like my jaws are still like clenched like this, But I will say that it beats the hell out of any other job I would have had.
Oh yeah.
If I wasn't doing this. So I'm very grateful that, people latched onto the silly things that we say for an hour. Like it's really comforting to know that, oh shit, like people actually like the bullshit we spew,
Well, you guys also do like some cool segments, like where you give advice at times and stuff like that. And I feel like that genuinely helps people.
We give horrible advice.
Well,
Like last week we had a guy.
I've heard some good ones where I'm like, oh, that's all right advice.
Yeah, Bobby always, once in a while he'll have some, sage advice.
Yeah.
But, it's called unhelpful advice for a reason. I think that's probably to protect the fact that, like, we absolutely
It's
have,
a
like, no
disclaimer
life.
a little bit.
Yeah, it's like, dude, like, we're just as dumb, if not dumber than you. And you probably shouldn't be coming to us about, advice about how to get over the emotional trauma of a spinal injury. You know what I mean? Like, those things are serious, and people come to us with like, hey, I'm on the verge of, taking my own life. And like, we read these things and we're like, whoa, this is really heavy.
Yeah.
And I'm not, capable of helping him out of that hole.
Yeah. You're like, I'm not trained for this.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Like maybe I might have my own experience of wanting to kill myself at some point, but like I can't. Yeah, there's a little bit of like fear sometimes where you're like, really, you're putting this on me?
Yeah.
And I always feel this like incessant need to like write him back. Like, are you okay? Don't kill yourself. Don't do it, bro. That's the only thing I say. Like, just don't do it.
Is that, well, I mean, yeah, that's the starting point.
Yeah.
For sure. I mean,
But I think about that though. But what if they do it, right?
well, yeah.
Because you know how like we live in a society where they always tell you that it's not the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But is it not the way to go because it hurts the people you leave behind? Because sometimes you are in such a state of torment in your own mind that sometimes that might be the way to go, right? I don't want to like solicit suicide. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just speaking.
You heard it here on Jeremiah Wonders, folks. Khalyla endorses suicide. No,
like I'm not trying to like. I'm just saying like from my own experiences of like being like depressed and being in a really deep hole. There were moments where that felt like
the only option kind of thing.
Not the only option, but a decent option. And I've had, my stepbrother, not to get real dark on this, but my stepbrother committed suicide. One of my best friends a couple years ago, like off themselves in a gun range, you know?
Yeah.
And I think about what they were going through, and they had, you know, they were going through like schizophrenic, you know, like auditory hallucinations and things like that, and hearing voices and stuff. And they just couldn't get out of it, you know? Here you are, normal teenagers, and all of a sudden, when you're nearing your 20s, you start to, you know, have a war, a full-fledged war in your mind. And I don't know. What's the Christian response, Jeremiah?
Well, if you go the super Christian route, then they would be like, well, they just need help from the Lord, and they just need to pray about it, and they just need to get in the church. And I had a friend who committed suicide that was one of my best friends out here in LA, and there wasn't any kind of signs, which was really, really hard for everybody. Mm-hmm. There wasn't any schizophrenia that we knew about linked to her or anything like that. So that was really rough. Like you said that your childhood friends, they had like some mental stuff that they were kind of going through that. Yeah. So whenever like it happened, like it felt so out of left field that it was, I mean, it's just as hard to deal with it, but it's shocking, of course. Like anytime somebody commits suicide that's like a loved one, it's like, whoa, how do you even...
Totally. And it's traumatizing. But then I put myself in the shoes of somebody who is hearing 3 different voices that they're unfamiliar with, you know, and having to deal with voices that people telling you are not real, but you're hearing them in your head. Yeah. And then they dose you up with freaking first generation antipsychotics like Haldol, and now you're basically walking around like Frankenstein, right? And freaking drooling on yourself and gaining all this weight, but you don't hear those voices, but you look like shit. So it's like, you know, like where do you go from there? Yeah. I feel really, really, I have so much empathy and sympathy for anybody going through that.
Yeah. Which if you are going through that right now, I feel the need to say, you know, try to talk to somebody about that, and you have people that love you, and don't listen to me. Don't listen to the weird voice inside your head that's like hello.
Oh my God.
What are we doing later?
Okay, that's terrifying.
Isn't that terrifying?
Now, if I heard that in my head, I would, yes.
Khalyla.
Yeah, oh, fuck that. Oh my God.
Khalyla, you need to kill Bobby. It's time. It's time for you to kill Bobby, Khalyla.
You're going to give me a panic attack, I think.
Isn't that terrifying?
No, I think I'm actually having a panic attack.
Oh, no. All right, we'll pump the brakes on that weird voice. That's actually, have you seen the trailer for Venom?
Yes, with Tom Hardy?
Yeah.
That looks really good.
That's what that voice kind of reminds me of. Like,
listen, Eddie, we will do whatever we please.
Like, it's so, like, eerie.
You're really good at that.
Well, it is a voice changer that's on there. That would be dope if I was able to drop my voice like that far down. I was like, hey, it's me, Jeremiah.
Or is it Jeremiah? I don't know.
It's creepy, right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a...
I was concerned before I got here because you have a really like thin, slender face.
Yeah.
And I have what you call a prototypical like large Asian face.
Okay.
So I was thinking if I sit far back enough, no one's going to notice the difference between your facial proportions and mine. I'm really conscious about like my massive face.
What are you talking about?
This was a real thought before I came in here. I was like, maybe I should just contour a little bit more this morning and just make sure that Jeremiah has a very slender face.
What?
Khalyla, Jeremiah has a very big nose. I think you're going to be okay here.
You know, that's the only good thing I felt about, because I have a pretty, a pretty good nose myself.
Oh,
but then I was like, wait.
I got to stop the podcast right here. That is not, what are you talking about?
No, what I'm saying, well, yeah, like relatively speaking. That's what I was saying. I'm trying to say that.
I mean,
compared to you, I'm
compared
good.
to Jeremiah here, I mean, yeah, it's, normal if you want to call it that. But I mean, yeah, sitting next to Jeremiah, I look like a goddess. Yeah, this is going to be a good episode
No,
for
I
me.
had to do an extra contour on my left side. Come on, dude. But then I was like, don't even bother contouring the nose. You're good.
You're good with that. Girl, you good there. Don't even worry about that contour on there. They did this this scene on Silicon Valley that this reminds me of where he got lip injections.
Yeah.
This guy with like a strong profile to make everything look smaller. And his lips were like all the way out to here. So that's what it would look like if I like started contouring. I would just literally be like an eagle soaring in the night sky with just nose.
But I think, you know what? I think that people are so obsessed with looking the same. Like I see a lot of people on social media that even men, where it's like they alter their faces and everybody's starting to kind of look the same in this city.
It's kind of, well, LA specifically, absolutely.
It's
like,
just that Instagram look. It's very specific.
It is a specific look. I mean, I feel like that's why certain people like who are like it's like the Felicity effect, I call it. Like whenever you change like a feature about yourself that is popular, like she cut her hair, like her long, pretty curly
like
hair,
really, yeah,
to
ringlet
like really
curls.
short, and people like it hurt her career like for like instantly.
Like Jennifer Grey from Dirty Dancing, she had a prominent nose, and I thought it was really cute, and it kind of just made her face perfect.
Yeah.
And she got a nose job, and I think it just kind of, made her look too average almost.
Yeah, it's like, well, now you look like everybody else. Like that was the thing that is setting you apart.
Yeah, someone on Instagram commented on a photo of mine last week, and it was like a photo not of my nose. It was a photo of a puppy, and they were like, "Mark my words, Khalyla's gonna get a nose job." And I was like, "Wait a second. Like, what's wrong with my nose?"
Yeah, what are you talking about?
I wasn't even like truly aware of it until someone's like, "Oh," I'm like, "It's a picture of a puppy, dude."
Yeah, I didn't know that I had a big nose until
you didn't know you had a big nose.
Listen, until this girl freaking thought that I came out of the womb with this size schnoz. And
oh wait, that's true because babies don't come out with their
No,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, Jeremiah, how do you not know that you have a big nose? So, my nose came a little bit later.
Mine too.
Mine came whenever I was like towards like middle school is whenever my nose started getting bigger. Also, I used to be a fatter, chubbier kid, so I had more cheek room. Okay. So as the weight dissipated and the cheeks started pulling back into my body, the nose started protruding more. And in 8th grade, I remember this kid, Trey, was like, "Hey man, you got a big nose," like out of nowhere, and it shook my freaking world. I was like, "Wait, what did you do? Wait,
What did you just say?
Trey, I always thought that I had a normal sized nose." "No man, it's big."
I have a big nose? Wait, everything is changing in front of me right now. My mom always told me I was perfect. What's happening?
My mom always told me I was the best at everything. I was the best looking, all that. And then whenever I went to public school, transitioned from going to a private Christian school, where people are a little bit more on their best behavior, to, just out in Mad Max public school community. I found out a lot of things about myself. I found out I wasn't as talented as I thought I was. Wasn't as I didn't have the looks that I thought I did, because there's such a bigger, you're in a sea rather than a little pond.
Right.
And speaking of water, you're a swimmer.
Yeah, speaking of water, you want to touch my palms?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Are they super?
You already know this about me, though.
Yeah.
I'm super sweaty.
But
But
I've
I mean,
never-
like, it's beyond, like people are like, "Oh, I have sweaty palms, too." I'm like, "No, bitch, you don't know what sweaty palms are. You don't know what a sweaty upper lip is. Don't look at my upper lip.
Okay. Hide behind the mic. You're fine.
You don't know what, like, sweaty eyebrows are. Like, you don't know sweaty anything until you've met me. Like, I can't hold a newspaper because I get it smeared all over my body. Are you sure you want to touch my hands?
Well, I mean, yeah, good thing there's cell phones out there now. How often are you put in the predicament of like, I can't hold on to these newspapers. What's going on here? I can't stand at the corner and sell these newspapers for a nickel a piece. What's going on? It's really cutting into my career over here.
Okay, but this is another thing I thought before I came here. I was like, oh, I hope I don't have to hold a mic because then I'd have to ask for a towel to hold the mic because what if it short circuits because of my wet hands?
There's a lot of thoughts that went in before coming over.
But tell me if I'm exaggerating. I'm going to show you my hand.
Okay.
And you tell me if I'm exaggerating about the abnormal degree at which I sweat.
Okay. All right. It's pretty. Yeah. It's like you've been working out.
But
yeah.
Only my hands have been working.
Just the hands. So it just comes strictly out of the. Oh my goodness. That is.
I know. I'm so sorry for your mics.
No, you're fine.
I can hold it like this. Look.
No,
look.
don't worry about it. You're
like
100% fine.
Yeah.
I can take a wet wipe to it later. It's totally cool. Paper towel, wet wipe, totally good.
Totally not sanitary. Bleach, dude, bleach.
What Khalyla didn't know is that Jeremiah had to throw away all the mics right after she left.
Oh, let me wipe my sweat stash and my eyebrows.
Hashtag sweat stash.
My sweat brows.
You know you're podcasting on Jeremiah Wonders when you got that sweat stash going on, people. Yeah.
Okay, this is the only thing that, because Bobby always says, like, when we first started dating, like, oh, you're the hottest chick, like, I've ever been with. But there's a reason that, like, when I was, even at my prettiest, let's say in, like, 28 years old, I'm not 28 anymore, in my 30s now, I never felt, like, when hot girls, like, they feel it, they look the part.
Right.
Like the wind is blowing
they
in their
act
hair.
The part. They walk kind of a little bit more like in slow motion kind
Right,
of.
like
they know people are looking.
Yeah, they're really feeling themselves.
Yeah.
I don't think I've had a moment in my life where I've truly felt like the wind in my hair. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because of the sweating. Because every time I'd try to flip my hair, my fingers would get caught because of like the dampness of my hand. Like I never had like the hair flip moment where I'm like, yeah, I really,
So guys are like looking like they're like the pier and like, dude, who's that chick?
Yeah.
And there's like, hey boys.
Yeah. It's really like a weird thing. Like, and I think it's what kept me humble.
That's a huge blessing in disguise is having something as like it's not a big deal, the sweaty hands thing, but it keeps you, like you said, it keeps you humble. So you had to develop a personality.
Yeah, I did. And I had to find ways to tell people that I didn't want to shake their hand.
Right.
Like even to an employer, say for instance.
Oh.
Like, hi, nice to meet you. Like, hi, can we chest bump instead? I know that's really weird. But
Did
like,
you say that at a job?
I would say like dumb things like that. And they'd be like, what? And she's like an 80-year-old woman, I'm like, oh, it's what the kids do these days. Just bump my chest bench.
All right. We're going to, where was this at?
It was at a hospital.
Is that a hospital? All right.
Yeah.
We're going to reenact that right now. Hello, come in. Khalyla, is that how I say it? Khalyla?
You business me?
Wait, I don't talk like that.
Oh, okay. You're calling in for this phone interview show.
Wait, no, it doesn't work if it's a phone interview because I don't want to shake your hand.
Okay, why don't you come in then? Why don't you come in?
I'll be
All right, here, come into the. Okay, I see you on your cell phone. Get off your cell phone and come around the corner. Okay, now. Khalyla, is that how you say it?
Wow.
Nice to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too. Look, I have some weird leprosy thing going on with my hand.
But you want to work at this hospital?
Yeah, it's contagious, but I figured I could wear gloves. I was thinking that maybe to get to know each other better, if we could just do a quick jump and a chest bump.
What is a chest bump?
It's what the kids are doing these days. Oh, you know what? Better yet, let's do this.
A pound?
Yeah. Oh, it's still sweat.
Is that the leprosy hand?
It is a leprosy. I'm so sorry.
So I don't know if we can. I was just looking over your resume. You look qualified, but after finding out about this odd hand thing, I don't know if we can hire you here.
Oh, that's so sad. Fuck you.
All right, bye.
Fuck you, old lady.
The best ending to an improv scene. Fuck you, bye.
I'm going to say something that's like, maybe I have never admitted out loud. I think that one of the reasons, like when I went to nursing school, I was so competent.
Mm-hmm.
When I did, my preceptorship and you're working in like, you're basically doing, you're at the hospital setting always.
Yeah.
I think one of the main reasons why I thought I cannot do this job is because of my hands. I
Really?
don't think that, because I was getting Botox in my hands and it was causing atrophy, but I was still sweating. I was getting Botox to stop the sweating.
Oh.
And so, and people were like, no, my hands sweat too. Just put talcum powder. One time I did that. I brought talcum powder because I was like, okay, I'm so done. It takes me 10 minutes to put one fucking glove on, and I put talcum powder on and I made a cake basically.
Oh,
my hands were so sweaty.
up.
Like, I basically made a fucking like cake batter and under my gloves, I was like, oh, fuck this. It's not my profession.
Yeah.
Let me go hold a mic instead.
Right?
It might not slip out as anything.
And now you made it. You're on Jeremiah Wonders. TigerBelly's going great. This is exactly where we all envisioned Khalyla would be.
I know, God. All those years of college, all those hard classes of, physics and biochemistry.
But what's great about going to college is just having life experience, which makes you who you are, and so interesting that you date somebody like Bobby, where it's like he's a well-known comedian and you're a very smart woman who is very well versed in a lot of topics. So it makes for a very interesting dynamic for TigerBelly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. I'm like
I always look at things like the things come around, like you don't know why, like you have to do certain things, but I feel like things end up working out in the long run, even though right in front of you are like, well, why did I just go to school for all those years? It's like, oh, maybe it's for this weird new profession of podcasting, just for me to have context for different things and to me be able to talk about so many different topics. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. But the worst part is that when you go to college, like you learn,
How many years were you in college?
I was probably like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I jumped around a lot. I started at UNLV on a swim scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to College of Southern Nevada.
How long were you swimming? Your entire life growing up?
Yeah, because I grew up in the Philippines and I swam for the Philippine team for a couple of years.
Really?
And then I came out here basically with the goal to either qualify for the Olympics or to swim collegiately. And so I did. And then
what are tryouts like whenever you were auditioning like for the Philippine swim team? Like what do you go through to even get
you just have to make a certain
time?
Yeah.
Or?
So they have these time qualifications that
Yeah.
you and those time qualifications are usually times that not the Philippine country sets. It's like like for instance, like Southeast Asian Games, you have to be at least this fast to compete in this Asian competition.
Okay.
So
Is it based on stroke and different?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was a 200 butterflyer
Okay.
and a 200 breaststroker. So yeah, that's what I did. And I came here and I was a giant fob for most of high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still am. Did you have fob friends in Kansas, Jeremiah?
I'm thinking of fob, and I don't know if I am really familiar with this term. I'm like, what is a fob?
It's actually, people think it's like I guess it's only a bad term if someone makes it a bad term, but it's basically fresh off the boat.
Oh, okay.
But
that was me out here in LA my first year or two. I was so fob.
really?
I was like, whenever I first got to LA, like it was ridiculous. I was waving and smiling at literally everybody walking down the street. I was just like, I'm out in Hollywood. I was like, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? Hey, nice to meet you, Jeremiah Watkins. Good to see you. Like that whole, I literally had to stop being so outgoing and nice whenever I got here because people saw it like as a way to take advantage of me, like who were strangers, like off the street, like, oh, hey man, what's that? Any kind of eye contact, you letting people in out here in LA, they're like, oh, what can I get out of this guy? Like, how can I hustle this guy or whatever? So I was definitely a fob for sure.
Yeah, but I like that about you, and I hope that never changes.
I think that there's always going to be somewhat of an element of that, just because. I don't know. That's how I was raised and stuff like that.
And I think that you should always keep that about you. You're so non-threatening. You're so approachable. You're so warm.
Oh, that's nice.
And that's such a refreshing thing to have, especially in an industry where everyone's just trying to kind of, climb on top of each other,
Yeah, it can be pretty rough sometimes. I feel like it's an easy thing for comedians. The more maybe notoriety they get, the more kind of self-consumed and self-absorbed they get. And I'm like, that's whenever they start losing the qualities that even got them there in the first place. It's like, yo, people like you because they feel like you're that you could be friends with them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
And I think that's probably the beauty of podcasting. And I think I take that, I like that the most about podcasting. Even when I listen to podcasts, it's always like you feel like you're in the room with those people.
Right.
There isn't this pressure to speak correctly, to always like to have broadcasting chops, to say sentences in this. It's like you don't have to care
about. If you flub or something on a podcast, nobody's gonna be like, "Oh, they messed up." Whereas like, "Hello, I'm live on the scene, right outside of the where the fire is has not been extinguished, and I'm over here, and oh man, this guy's biffing it, man. He might get fired." That I don't know.
That or like they automatically assume like she's having a stroke. Remember that girl who like. Did you see? Remember that she was reporting on she was reporting on the weather or something, and she just had like a brain fart, and like I think that would happen to me where like my eye would roll back momentarily just out of it would just like hang back because that's what I do sometimes when I get anxious. Like I blink excessively, and then everyone assumed I think that she had a stroke.
Oh, okay.
And maybe it was a stroke.
Yeah, but she was just messing up on the news.
Yeah, or maybe she just had a Khalyla moment, where like her fucking eye rolled back in the back of her head out of like just pure anxiety,
Yeah.
Or like I don't want to look at the world right now. I'm gonna take my pupils and put it back there,
So after you came out here to the States, was that a hard transition, by the way, from Philippines to the United States?
It was.
Yeah, it's gotta be.
It wasn't okay. This is something that I'm actually like working on, is like writing all my life experiences out, because I always thought that I had like a normal childhood until I put it on paper and I'm like, whoa, nothing about that was normal.
Same here.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And I think that, which is fine. Like, I think that's a good way to cope with life, thinking that everything is how it was supposed to be.
Yep.
But I had a father who was 36 years older than my mom. So when I came to America, he was well into his 70s and I was about 14, 15. And I had a mom who was, I think, still in her late 30s. And so we came here, we were living, I grew up my family was very well-to-do in the Philippines. My dad had a lot of money. I went to an international school there. We had a big house. We had plenty of helpers around the house, things like that.
What's the exchange rate like between the Philippines and the United States?
52. $1 to 52 pesos.
Wow.
Our economy's tanking. President's a psycho.
Wow.
Yeah. So, anyways, we were very well to do there, but then my dad lost all his money, hence why we thought, okay, let's come to America, because at least, we can try to see how far you can, make it collegiately and whatnot. But I came here and, I was just a very fobby Filipina girl. And I had a very thick accent. And
really?
I remember my dad trying to get me into this other school that had a swim team. It was like La Cañada, Flint Ridge, La Cañada. But we didn't live in the area, so we weren't zoned there. We lived in a really, really like crappy place. So I got zoned to a different school that didn't have a swim team. But it was such a blessing in disguise, because La Cañada is a predominantly white and Asian school. I went to a school that was predominantly black and Latino. And it really shaped me so much more than any other school could have been. Like I was with kids that were on the lower socioeconomic status. Like I felt like I got a little bit more street smart. I felt like I was really living the real LA experience. I wasn't in some fucking rich bubble somewhere else. I had to create the swim team, things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it was a transition for sure, but I was really thankful that things didn't quite pan out like my dad had intended. I'm so glad that I ended up in that, it was a crappy school, but
Yeah.
the kids were great.
So what do you mean that you had to create your swim team? Did you have to like look for opportunities like within like where you were living?
Yeah, well, this high school didn't have a swim team. I was
Yeah.
already swimming with a club team. That's a baseline. You
Gotcha.
have to in order.
Gotcha.
You can't just like seasonally swim with a high school team. But they didn't have a high school team. But my sister and I wanted to represent the school in some way. So, we asked like my English teacher who had some background in swimming years ago. Was like, hey, can we start a swim team? And we did. And I remember we would compete against other schools and they were so snotty. They were like, ooh, Blair High School. Like they don't have a swim team. And my sister and I would get in that water and we would wreck them. Yes. Like, you don't know us, bitch. We're from the Philippines. And, these girls were like, whoa, where did that come from? Blair High School has like, and my sister won CIF. And like, we would win like basically every single time we would go up against these like rich schools, you know? And we were from a fucking shitty public school. But that was great. All those little things that you forget about that you think are normal when you look back at them, like those are really special moments,
Definitely.
Yeah.
That sounds like a Disney summer movie, actually.
I swear to you, it's like, now that I think about it.
Yeah. This summer, Khalyla and her sister have a little bit more on their plate than what they thought. We're going to win, sis. We're going to do this. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
We don't get the respect that we deserve out there, though.
I swear, should I pitch it to Disney?
I mean, I'm just saying, like, I think that's a pretty awesome story.
Yeah, and then when I first came from the U.S., it's like we didn't get the usual reception that most people do. So when my dad had when he came out here to America, we'd already lost most of our money, right? So he befriended this like Baptist church that was ran by like Nigerian immigrants. And so we got
a lot
greeted.
of Nigerian princes at this asking for money for offerings and stuff like that. Sending you emails every week for your tithe.
Dearest, what do they call you on those letters? They say, dearest so-and-so. Is that how they do it, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a Nigerian prince is actually calling in to the show right now.
Hello? Is this Khalyla?
Hi, it's me. Is this Pastor Pam?
This is Pastor. Yes, what did you say?
Pastor Pam?
Pam?
Pam, yes.
Yes, that is me.
I haven't spoken to you in so long. How are you?
I am good, but I am in need of something desperately right now.
Wait, are you no longer at that church on Normandy?
Well, we are at the church on Normandy, but we need something from you. It's been a long time since you tithed, Khalyla.
Anything you want, Pastor Pam. I love the church. You guys really helped us out when we first came from the Philippines. Like, what can I help you with?
I would like 10% of all of your profits recently.
From
the last 2.5 years of TigerBelly.
Oh, Pastor Pam, I didn't know you listened to my
I'm a
podcast.
big fan of TigerBelly.
You know what? In that case, we'd love to have you on. You and Sister Lenore.
Me and Sister Lenore will be great guests on your show. I am a little alarmed by your boyfriend, Bobby Lee, though.
Why? Because he's...
He sometimes say things about religion that do not sit with me right.
Pastor Pam, he loves God, and I'd like for him to talk.
He needs saving, Khalyla. Can you save him?
I'll try.
If you can save Bobby Lee, that will be good enough payment for me instead of the money, instead of the monetary wages.
Oh, okay, Pastor Pam, I'll do my best.
All right. My work here is done.
I can't believe he just called in to either ask for tithe or for you to save Bobby's soul. I feel like those are two really different things.
They were really nice people. It's crazy that without them, I don't think I would have made it to America because my dad had hit some hard times there, and they did a fundraiser for our plane tickets here.
Oh, that's very sweet.
And so when we came through the airport, here I am, like just going through LAX, first time in America, and we were greeted by just a bunch of people from the church, like singing, "Oh, praise the Lord, Brother Edgar, they are here." And even though it was like a very celebratory time, it was shocking for me. Like, who the fuck are these
Who
people?
are these people that already know us before we even are setting foot
Yeah.
on U.S. soil? So you were welcome. Did they have like little signs and stuff?
Yeah.
And they're singing. That's what a great entrance into the United States.
But I was so it felt like a dream. And then like every week, because my dad felt like he had to be thankful to them.
Yeah.
We had to, go to the church and, do our testimonials and stuff. And my sister like took one for the team because you know how they would do their like bodies would shake and their eyes will roll, the whole thing.
The whole
Yeah.
Speaking in tongues and stuff.
Yeah,
like that?
speaking in tongues.
Oh,
So
interesting.
my dad was like, "They've done so much for you," and my sister's like, "I'll take one for the team," and she like pretended to like throw her body into like a seizure like state. Yeah, shit.
I only had been to one of those churches before where they spoke in tongues, and even my dad, like as religious as he was, he's like, "All right, kids, some things are a little bit different in this church, and I don't know if we're going to be coming back here." Like he felt like that was too much. Like that was,
Yeah, it's too much aerobics.
It's a
that
lot.
shit's tiring.
It's a lot of core work, Like
Yeah.
if you go on Sunday, that's your workout for the week.
Seriously, I mean-
running those aisles and jumping up and down.
Seriously, Bobby has a joke about it.
Oh, his joke is so great. Oh, that joke is so great. Oh, I'm imagining his act up for it right now.
But yeah,
So
that's
funny.
like, I mean, I grew up Catholic, and we just had to kneel on pews.
Yeah.
You just kneel, get up, and then put money in the bag, and that's it. Go home, take something in your mouth, and then that's it.
Did you ever have to go to like outside services, like things that were like I went to this church summer camp where it was called like a tabernacle. It was literally this giant, like I don't even know how to like a semicircle of roofing that was like circular almost.
An arch.
Yeah, I guess an arch would be the right word. It's like this weird arch, but it was like a giant ceiling, and then the sides were open. So it was so hot in there. And you'd have these paper fans that were attached to these wooden sticks that you would fan yourselves with. And there was Bible verses, like different Psalms and stuff on the back, or different like people that they were praying for in the congregation as you're like fanning yourself and dying and being like, "Can we maybe like move this to somewhere with AC or something?" It was crazy.
That's just part of the suffering and part of your sacrifice to God.
Well,
you know.
what's so hard about like whenever you're going to church or something, like what your parents could always do is like, "Jesus died on the cross for you.
Yeah.
I think you can sit through a 45-minute sermon with a little bit of sweat on the back of your neck." Like, okay, well, I guess if you, I mean, it's quite the trump card.
No, I know it's.
that God has.
It's true. It's like I can't be okay. You don't think that I go home and not flog myself every night?
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what they want you to do.
A little bit, yeah.
You know that my uncle, he in the Philippines, because we're a largely Catholic nation,
Mm-hmm.
every Easter, when God, they crucify him, he dies, he resurrects, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how you say it?
Resurrects? Yeah. Resurrects will
So
work
it's
too.
a fob.
Yeah.
It's a fob.
Fob.
Yeah. My uncle was one of the yearly volunteers to get crucified on the cross, like really crucified, like with the nails through his hand.
What?
Yeah, that's a real thing they do in the Philippines. They put the thorn crown. The man bleeds from his face. They freaking put him on a cross. They put a nail through his hand. That was my uncle. He was the village Jesus. Yearly.
And how long does he stay up there?
No, they don't really keep him up there for like days and stuff.
But do they? I mean, they actually put a nail through his hand.
Yeah, from what I remember, yeah, I think if you can Google it, they do this in so many cities in the Philippines.
And how long do they keep them up there? Like an hour, like less, or maybe it's just like a symbol thing.
Yeah,
Like they set them up there for like a couple minutes, and just like so people can pray or whatever, just for the. I don't know. That's so interesting.
I mean,
I've never heard of that. That is so bizarre.
I mean, I'm hoping now they just use rope to hoist them up.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
Now
Instead of the actual nails.
But that's part of the
gnarly.
sacrifice and the sweat on the back of your neck.
I guess so.
You know,
That's wild, though.
But see, that's a good. If you did that, I'm sure your parents wouldn't have you sit 45 minutes in a tabernacle. You know?
Yeah, I think that after that you'd be like, I just did it last week. Like, what do you like after that fact? Then are they like, oh, that guy is the guy who he did get up on the cross the other week, so we kind of got to give him a little bit of leeway. So I think we're gonna give him one. I think we're getting an interesting phone call right now. I think it's Khalyla from the past who had a Filipino accent. I think whenever she first came to high school, is this high school Khalyla who's coming in, who's fresh off the boat?
Hi, Jeremiah. Kumusta?
Hi, Khalyla. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here. You know what? I've been here in the States now for 3 months, and I am making new friends. And you know that the one things that I don't understand is the boys keep telling me I need to shave my legs because I think that's what American girls are doing. But then you know what? I thought on TV I said, oh, I'm gonna be a feminist.
Really?
Yeah.
That was like a conscious thought you had?
Yeah, I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep the hair under my armpits, and I am going to keep the hair on my legs because, I love America, but I am not going to change for America.
How long do you think it'll be before you start shaving your legs?
Jeremiah, I don't know. Maybe when I fall in love, and then he says, you know what, your legs are like porcupine, then maybe I consider.
Now, Khalyla, have you met any cool new races of people since being here?
Yeah, my first kiss was a boy named Jerome. He was very, very nice, dark olive skin, nice big lips. And I have big crush on Jerome.
Wow.
First kiss.
First kiss,
First
Jerome.
kiss was Jerome.
Olive skin. What race was he?
He's a black guy.
Oh, he's a.
Yeah, I Filipino, we like black guys.
Do you like black guys in the
Yeah,
Philippines?
we watch basketball, we look at LeBron. We see these guys with big, nice bodies. Black guys are the good ones.
Well, they're much larger than a lot of you Filipinos, right?
Yeah, but Jeremiah, I'm Catholic girl. I don't touch their penis like that.
Now, when are you thinking about waiting till marriage for?
Maybe I put in my mouth first, and then I can see maybe if I like in my mouth, I put in there also.
I mean, I guess there's some other places that you could put it without it technically. I mean, I don't know how Catholic
Plenty.
you are.
Many holes on your face,
Mm-hmm.
one hole in your stomach.
Mm-hmm.
You put it anywhere.
Yeah, and it's not technically sex unless
No.
it's.
Jerome, this guy Jerome, he asked if maybe he can put it in, my lubot.
In your sunken place?
It's my lubot,
Lubu?
my lubot, yeah, my butthole.
Oh, okay. What was your response?
But then
dude?
he says, you'll still be virgin. I said, really?
He tried to talk you into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he put a little bit in, and then I thought, you know
It's
what?
too much, right?
Yeah, I went home, I had fever.
His penis gave you a fever?
I had fever. And I thought to myself, this is what God does.
I think that's called Catholic guilt.
I know. And so I did, a few Hail Marys, and then the fever went away.
Wow, that's so interesting how that works out. Now, did you see Jerome that much after that?
Yeah.
Or did he just kind of disappear after he got what he wanted?
Okay, so that my friend Arthur was like, because I tried to call Jerome. I said, Jerome, how come you don't call me anymore? And then Arthur was like, I think he ghosted you. And I said, what's ghost? I said, what's that ghost? And I thought, he is translucent.
You didn't believe in ghosts before this,
I
did
didn't,
you?
and I said,
You only
wow.
believed in the Holy Spirit, maybe.
Yeah, I said, oh wow, Jerome really break my heart and my butt, She broke 2 parts of my body.
At the same time, that's a destructive Jerome penis right there.
Yeah, I'll never forget. You know, Jeremiah, I love America, but you know what? I don't forgive Jerome.
Was that your first boy experience here? You said it was your first kiss.
No, that's real.
That's real. Oh, we lost high school Khalyla. I can't believe. I'm so impressed with how honest that high school Khalyla was. You know, she was just like,
Hey, that was kind of therapeutic.
yeah.
Yeah. You know, because I really had very hairy legs. I didn't know that was a thing girls did.
Right, it was like an American trend. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I just kind of let it all like hang free. I didn't really have too many hang-ups about my appearance until I came here. And they were like, "Girl, your legs are." I'm like, "Are they?" You know? But I never really gave in either. I was like, "Fuck it," you know. And I had braces and I had big gums because my braces kind of like pushed my teeth together and like made my gums real swollen.
Yeah.
And so I had a really poor tooth to gum ratio. And on top of that, I had like fucking metal things in my mouth. I had like a bowl cut. I was very uncute. But Jerome was the first guy.
He's like, "Hey, girl, I see some potential."
Yeah, he used to call me cornbread because I was a swimmer and I had really thick legs.
Suck cornbread.
And I was, did you call me cornbread? No, hold on 1 second. Did you just call me cornbread? And I was so
Yeah, girl.
flattered. And I remember it was like after school and it was like he was sitting right in the library. And a guy only had like he only ever wore like 2 different shirts for like the whole 4 years that I knew him. But he was so nice. And like that was my first kiss. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try.
Wow.
He wasn't my first kiss ever. He was my first kiss in America.
And then in the States, it's with a black guy, I'm sure, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not many black guys in
God
the
bless
Philippines.
you, Jerome. I
Right?
should find him on Facebook.
Find Jerome on Facebook. Send him the link to this. He's going to love it.
That's actually when my friends and I go drink. That's our toast.
To Jerome?
You know how people say Jerome? I don't say Jerome. I say Jerome.
Jerome.
To this day, and it's an inside joke because I really thank him for like being the only cool guy who like gave me a chance.
Wow.
Yeah. And eventually my hair grew out, the braces came off, and then I just started sucking dick of all kinds. But before that, it was just Jerome.
There she goes. The braces are like popping off. Hair is sprouting out from the bowl cut. All of a sudden, like a razor is like shaving your legs as you're walking down the stairs, and like, is that the same Khalyla that we saw in first period?
Yeah, it was like my she's all that moment.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, like a total transformation.
So, what year do you feel like you like? Were you in high school still, or was it college? Whenever you got your braces off and you started, because it's got to be quite the flip of how guys treat you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of whenever, like, because I remember like it would always be like a girl in high school like, dude, did you hear that Annie got her braces off, dude? Like, it's like that instant. It's such like that surface level of like physical attraction. What year was that for you, in high school or college, whenever you kind of started to come into the Khalyla that you are now?
Like last year. I swear to you, I never really had that moment where I was like, oh yeah, I got it going on, you know? And even when the braces came off, the swollen gums were still there. You know, I had to get those things like basically cut out of my mouth.
What's up, puffer fish?
I swear to you, like I was all gums for a while. And then
Gummy bear.
yeah, but it does change, you know. I think that towards the end of my high school, I was able to get a decent looking date to prom.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
things changed like on that level.
Yeah, and but I was a really, you know, I had, like I said, I had a really old father and a mom who was equally as culture shocked as I was. And
Yeah.
kind of just, we were poor. She was trying to figure things out. And so I didn't have a lot of guidance. I didn't have the sex talk. Like you didn't have the sex talk. I didn't
Yeah.
have it either. So I had to navigate through that whole feeling horny stage all by myself. And I
course.
probably made a lot of mistakes. And I probably, for attention, I probably did things with boys for that like instant gratification of feeling like wanted, because I didn't, you know, high school for me was a really like strange time.
Yeah. So after you were in school, you said high school, college, you were swimming in college, and then you swimmed at a professional level for a bit, right?
when I got to college at UNLV, I was forced to redshirt because there was some like NCAA violation of like not, because I went partially to school in the Philippines before I came here.
Okay.
And UNLV coach really fucked me over because I was on a full scholarship, and going from my first year of full scholarship to being like, okay, now you're on your own. So I had to go find a club team and swim, and then try to figure out if I could still qualify for the Olympics. And, you know, I never really got there. Sensitive subject.
Sorry to bring it up.
That was my wish every year on my birthday. I want to make
To
it to the
qualify?
Olympics, blow the candle. I want to make it to the Olympics, blow the candle. You think it's too late for me? It's too late, huh? I can't have some fucking like stellar comeback in my 30s, right?
Hey, it's going to be the ending of the Disney movie that we're pitching on Monday together. I'm setting up the meetings.
At 30, at 34.
She overcame all odds. She thought her dream was on the shelf until she went on Jeremiah Wonders. What's Jeremiah Wonders? Don't worry about it. It's part of the plot.
Oh, God. How sad.
No, it's not sad at all. Everybody has their dreams. Sometimes things get pushed to the side, or it's one. I thought that I was going to be a professional basketball player whenever I was growing up, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me that I got cut from the
Did you
basketball
really
team.
believe that you were going to play professionally?
Yes, I did, because I was tall. I was in Kansas, and I was super competitive, and I also had a very caring mother in my ear that was telling me how talented I was all the time. So yeah, I genuinely thought. And then I got, in high school, the height and skill level goes so far up that I got cut my freshman year, but then I worked really, really hard, and I made it on the team my sophomore year. But then I got cut my junior year, and that was whenever I knew that it was over for sure. Because I was like, if you're not on varsity by junior year, it's just not going to happen.
Did you was your high school like a big basketball school?
Yeah. Kansas basketball is like super, it's like big in all the schools there. Football and basketball honestly, football, basketball, and even baseball, but basketball is like super important because we have like KU there and stuff like that. And everybody's trying to like get to KU because they know that, I don't know, that's like where if you're super talented, that's where you're going to go. Yeah. Let's get into this next segment called Fanning Out.
Ooh, okay.
Fanning out. Questions from fans.
I reached out to people on Instagram and Twitter and asked them if they could ask Khalyla any question.
Hold on, let me wipe my my sweat stash again.
If they could ask Khalyla any question, what would it be?
Okay. I'm ready.
At Brian BKO on Instagram, how much behind the scenes work goes into running TigerBelly with the crew?
A lot more than you think.
Oh, probably for our listeners, but I know how much behind the scenes stuff it takes. It's a lot.
I think that now we're probably a better oiled machine than we were in the beginning.
Of course.
And so it kind of becomes pretty easy at some point. But look, like in the beginning when Bobby and I first used to do it, we didn't have a third person. It was just him and I would edit everything. And there were moments where we'd finish an hour podcast and then realize that I actually hadn't turned on the Zoom. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh, got to tell Bobby now.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, yeah, that didn't quite work out. So, but, we have a really great team. We have two other people, George and Gilbert, and they make things so fun for me.
Yeah.
They're basically my brothers. I've never felt more at ease in a room with people than when those two are around. Like, they're just super supportive. They're always taking care of everything. And but yeah, it's work,
Yeah.
And it's easy to put out any podcast, but it's not easy to put out one that's really consistently. Like, there are certain things you always have to do, and that's you have to upkeep the social media. We're not always very good with that. You have to make sure that it comes out at a certain time every week. You have to make sure that, things are edited properly, which we're not always very good with either, because Bobby says some wild shit sometimes. And I'm like, yo, you can't say that. I gotta take that shit out, Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you guys have you guys are good at posting clips and having all your episodes up. And that's huge
But there are podcasts that do a much better job. Now we have a clips channel, which we're a little behind on that. But we have. But before that, I mean, there are other podcasts that just every week their content is just out there. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into it.
I feel like that's part of the growth of the trajectory of the podcast. As it gets more popular, the more people want to see those clips, the more that they want you guys to be on top of social media. So I feel like it organically, like they both pick up at the same time.
And I'll tell you what, our fan base is the shit.
What was interesting for me being an outsider of the TigerBelly effect is I was touring with Bobby before the podcast, and then I was touring with him at the same time as when the podcast started to pick up some heat. And you could always tell who the TigerBelly fans were for after the shows. So nice. Yeah. Everybody's so nice and super respectful, and they're genuine, like just fans of comedy. And I remember them in the show. I was like, oh, these were like the good laughers in the crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're not uptight. They're open.
Yeah.
They laugh. They don't sit there with their arms crossed. They're just really, they're great fans, and they're also very vocal. They're also very interactive on, like they're just very supportive.
Yeah.
They're not like quiet listeners. Like they'll let you know if they like you. You know, and I like that. I appreciate it. They'll also let you know if they don't like you.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay. That comes with it all.
That's the same with Death Squad too. People are very vocal with what they like and don't like. At Imperial_music, what's your skincare routine?
My own sweat, baby.
Yeah.
You see this fucking shine right here? You see this fucking sweat stash? That's my own sweat.
Constant moisturizer.
Yeah,
it's a natural moisturizer.
Every week someone tells me like, you're too fucking oily. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do. That's just how that shit comes out of my pores.
Yeah.
There's the apocrine glands just coming out,
I get oily in this area, and I use wipes before I go on stage sometimes, so it's not distracting.
Yeah. Because I would imagine like I wouldn't want to see anyone sweating up there. Like,
no. I try to, if I ever start actually sweating, I always try to wipe.
Like real, like beads of sweat though, not like shiny and nervous. Like that's what that's my general vibe.
Right.
Is just shiny and nervous and blinky.
Current mood, shiny and nervous. Somebody asked at Bud Light Mike 1, why sometimes can't you wear headphones and stuff like that? He said.
Oh, it's the same reason why I told you, like, do I have to wear these? I have really bad TMJ problems. So, like, my temporomandibular joint, which is this joint right here in my jaw, clicks a lot. I have a hard time. I have a lot of pain on my face.
Gotcha.
So, headphones sort of exacerbate that.
Hopefully, you're not too uncomfortable.
I want to walk out of here crying. It's all your fault.
All right, perfect. Jerome, I'm going to hit you up. At Pete Ordinary, do you remember your last competitive swim event like it was yesterday? What do you miss from swimming?
I miss the feeling of racing. I don't miss the culture of swimming. I think it's very it's very lonely. It's a very like it's an individual sport, and a lot of the kids, not shitting on anybody, it's a very like sheltered sport. Mm-hmm. And I always felt out of place. You had a bunch of like well-to-do kids. I was always sort of the girl who took the bus to practice. Mm-hmm. But I miss racing. My relationship with water will never end. I'm always in the ocean. I still free dive. I still swim on my own. My relationship with water is, like we cannot split us apart.
Yeah.
But swimming as a sport, I don't know if I would put my kids into it.
Interesting.
They would know to swim for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if swimming
the culture
is
and everything.
Yeah, it was never a sport that I actually enjoyed. Not even in college. It wasn't my thing.
At Nick J. Cody, what was your worst joke when you tried stand up?
Oh my god!
Because you tried it. How long did you try stand up
for? I tried
like
3 times.
Yeah.
And that was just basically Bobby saying, "You got to try it so you know my plight."
I think we did a mic together one time.
You've never
at Flappers.
seen me. Never. If it was Flappers, then I didn't do as bad. But there was one. Shut up. No, I've never seen you there. If I had seen you, we wouldn't be friends.
You know what it was? You know what it was? Is Bobby he approached me and he goes, do you know this name, so-and-so? And I go, yeah. He goes, do they ever come around the Comedy Store? And I was like, I don't know. Sometimes. He's like, if they're ever here, you point them out to me because they said some pretty mean things about Khalyla.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
I don't remember the name anymore. I just remember Bobby being so livid because it was like, somebody was coming at.
Well, yeah, because I was doing an open mic.
Mm-hmm.
And he just happened to know, like, I never mentioned that I'm Bobby's girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I guess he happened to know that. And he was another comic. He started, like, who heckles a 3-minute fucking open mic set?
Yeah.
Like, why are you're another comic. And he started talking about me, like, blowing Bobby and fucking that's how I'm trying to make, my name. And I'm like, wait a second, like, I'm not even doing stand-up for real.
Yeah, what are you?
Like, yeah, he was really, like, aggressive and drunk.
Weird.
Yeah, so I was like,
And that Flappers open mic is like early too.
yeah, I was like, dude, lay off the beers. I'm here for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I bombed. It just wasn't my thing. If I have a problem, if I'm already sweating doing a podcast, you can imagine how shiny I am, on stage. I'm just a shiny, nervous person.
Did you have a worse joke that you remember telling that you're like, oh, this one bombed real bad?
Let me see. Probably like when I likened my vagina to like a moth or something like that.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, like a moth on a wall or something like that. But then it's like, that's so hacky because like everyone talks about the shape of their vagina. And I was like, oh, I'm never doing this again. No one laughed. I'm going home.
Yep. It's not fun sometimes.
It's not. I mean, you guys are great. All props to you. And maybe that's why Bobby was so insistent on me doing it.
So you could just experience what it was once.
But it's like I've always appreciated what he's done. I've always said, look, I could never do that. But somehow he wanted me to take it to the next level and he wanted my armpits to sweat.
Have you tried to show him any swimming things?
He's a pretty good swimmer.
Pretty good swimmer?
There's a misconception about that fat boy.
Athletic?
He is so agile. It shocks me. In fact, he is way more agile than I could ever be. I'm great in the water, but I'm not great on my feet. Like, I could play horse. Like, I could shoot from the 3-point line, but, like, only at an angle. Like, I can't even do a proper layup. Bobby can ice skate.
He has, like, that quick twitch agility.
Right, but he can also, like, because he was a wrestler, he can tumble. He can ice skate. He can play tennis. He can play ping pong. Like, he's just an agile and shockingly athletic person. It blows my mind.
Which has got to infuriate some people that if they play against him and some of these are like, I thought this was going to go my way,
Yeah, he played, when we were in San Diego once, we went to this like rock show and we went backstage and the singer of Interpol just happened to be there and he was like, do you want to play ping pong? And Bobby's like, yeah, I guess I will. Like, I had never seen him play ping pong. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, you can't even walk one flight of stairs before like basically like, dying. You can't play ping pong against this like semi-professional rock star, And this guy was fucking amazing. But guess what? Bobby beat him.
Whoa.
They played for a whole hour. I've never seen Bobby freaking move like that in my life. He was quick on his feet. Yeah, I was like, what the fuck?
I bet that Interpol guy was so frustrated.
He was like,
he's not used to being beat. Those are the guys who, like, whenever they get to a certain level of skill and they're interacting with other people in the entertainment business, you stop playing people to a certain skill level because they're doing their craft and they stop getting good at that. And then they come across somebody like that. It's infuriating.
Yeah.
I played Judah Friedlander in a ping pong
he's
tournament.
Amazing.
If Bobby's good, I would love to see him and Judah play because Judah, I'm like a pretty good player, but I'm not like amazing or anything. And Judah would not let me get 1 point off on him.
But doesn't he legitimately play like
He's ranked.
professional?
Yeah, he's like ranked. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
You should go practice on top of that Korean spa, the Hyundai spa right here.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they have hardcore ping pongists.
Yeah.
Table
Ping pong player? Yeah.
Table tennisers?
Sirs? Table tennisers, yes.
So they have ping pongists.
Gentlemen table tennis players.
Yeah. They come with headbands. They're really, really like serious about it.
Yeah.
And they practice there on top of the Korean spa.
Nice.
Yeah. You should go and do your thing up there with Bobby.
I went to a Korean spa with Bobby once, and
How'd it go?
it was amazing.
Wait, hold on. Did you get fully naked in front of him?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You did? Okay. Because
Yeah,
he's been with other comics who don't.
Yeah, and whenever we were on the way there, he's like, "You're gonna have to get naked." I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Really?" He's like, "I've taken other people, and they only will get down to their boxers." I was like, "They go to a spa and they're in
I
their
know.
boxers," and it was great. It was the temperature in those Korean spas though is insane of how hot it gets.
Well, that one is.
That one.
That's why he keeps going
goes,
to that.
He goes, I go here because it's illegal how hot they keep it in here. And in the American spas, they can't even turn it up that loud. They can't even turn it up that much, bro. And that's why we're going there, dude.
Dude, I refuse to walk into anything that like a furnace like that.
It's
I think they
pretty
crank it
hot.
up like 10 over illegal.
Yep. It was scorching hot. It was unbelievable. Let's do a couple more and then we'll do this final segment.
Okay.
Yeah, we're already a little over. Do you have any dating advice? Dating advice from the Queen, this one girl said, at Stratavince on Instagram.
I'm not very good at this, but from my own experience, I think that, you know, we live in an age where you can sort of find or scroll or swipe on people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very, very easy way to overlook the good ones because we're basically just looking at a photo and like some fucking like trying to be funny quick bio. I think there's so much to be said about what you feel around somebody and how that person, like, no matter what they look like. And that's how I felt with Bobby, you know, like I was really unsure when I first went on a date with him. I was like, okay, this guy could be a pompous, narcissistic, fucking Hollywood type.
Because it was like through Tinder, right?
Yeah.
How you guys are originally, yeah.
Yeah. But I also matched with, like, I made it a point not to match with cute boys on Tinder just because I was already aware of the fact that, like, it's like you can never really know
Yeah.
how someone is. And I made sure I talked to Bobby on the phone before I met him because I needed to know if like we even clicked in that way first before like meeting up, not just texting. So much is lost through text. You don't know you got to hear someone's voice, how that voice makes you feel.
Tone, everything.
Yeah. And, you know, meet them. Even if you're not fully attracted to them, like on paper, or meet them. See how you feel when you hug them. You know, that in-person chemistry is everything. And that's my dating advice. Like, just, you know, don't rely on the cute boy swipe.
That's great advice from the Queen, Khalyla. Do you know Jamar Neighbors?
I do.
He's so stupid. I have to ask this. He goes, ask her if she think I'm cute.
I love Jamar. I don't think that he knows me. And I've only he did a show with Bobby. He did the Viceland show.
What Diplo do?
Yeah. I think
What would
is
Diplo do? Yeah.
one of the funniest. I've seen him perform too. There are very few that can make me laugh hysterically as Jamar Neighbors. Even his Instagram. I've seen your naked pictures. Love them all. You might be my plan B.
Whoa.
Just putting it out there.
Whoa.
Well, hold on. Ian Edwards is my plan B. Bobby knows this.
Sup, fam? Hey, Khalyla, how are you doing today?
That's exactly how he talks.
Would you like to watch some soccer with me later? Cool. Jeremiah, what's up with that jacket you're wearing? A lot of questions were asking about your just UFC and video games and stuff like that. How did you get into liking the UFC?
Video games. I only have a hatred for video games because I don't see my boyfriend much because of video games. No, UFC I started watching when I was 17. I've always watched boxing my whole life because my dad was a big boxing fan.
Okay.
And he would take my mom to like boxing matches like in Mexico and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So being Filipino, you always like boxing. That's
Sure.
like sort of like our, you know, it's like billiards, boxing, and karaoke.
Do you play pool?
I don't. I might be the only Filipino who sucks at karaoke, who sucks at billiard.
I knew the karaoke thing, but I actually didn't know billiards was one.
Yeah, we
That's
have a
like-
lot of like talent. All my girlfriends fucking kill it at pool.
Really?
Like the best. They will take all your money.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I always love playing good people at pool because I grew up with a table in my basement, so I played so many thousands of games with my brother and my dad and friends who'd come over. So, yeah.
Yeah, but with the UFC thing, I started watching when I was 17 because of a good friend of mine, and that just sort of became my thing to watch it when it came out, which was once every 3 months back then.
Yeah.
or maybe even less than that. And then we would watch a lot of Pride and
So
UFC
huge now.
And yeah, it just carried over into. But I know nothing about actual fighting. I just like watching. I'm just a casual spectator, casual
Do
fan.
you have a favorite fighter or anything like that?
I have a lot of favorite fighters, and it's usually not like the champions or who like takes the belt. Right now, my favorite fighter is a guy who's an Australian guy named Robert Whittaker. And I think I know everything I like about him. He's like humble, he's like low key, but he's so fucking talented. He's my favorite guy right now.
Nice. Well, this brings us to our final segment, Sax Talk. Oh, Sax Talk.
Oh, gee.
So, I am going to play some sweet, sweet saxophone underneath you
When did you learn to play the sax?
around 3rd, 4th grade.
And did you choose the instrument?
I actually did. I saw somebody playing it, and I was like blown away. And I actually saw somebody playing it in church, so it wasn't even that jazzy at all. But I was like, that sounds so different from all those other instruments that are on stage.
Yeah.
Because it was in church, so there's like a piano, maybe a trumpet, and then there was one guy playing sax. I was like, what is that? And I just was instantly. I told my mom, like, whenever I saw, I was like, how can I start playing that? She's like, well, I guess we can look into lessons and stuff like that. And then we rented the sax for years until I paid it off. And so this is the same sax that I've had since like 3rd grade.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It
And
was like,
have you, Kenny G, he's a sax.
oh yeah, yeah, one of the best. Yeah,
Saxist?
he's a sax offender. Yeah,
He's a sax.
yeah, a sax. That's the only creepy part of whenever I'm okay. I
just
just
like
gotta
how-
wet the reed real quick.
I know what the reed is. I watch Mozart in the Jungle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know what
So you
the
get
gotta
it?
wet the reed. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna play this bad boy underneath while you share a story of any sexual encounter.
Oh, I have to think about this, Jeremiah. You can't just sexual encounter.
It can be a sexual encounter. It can be a sex story. It can be literally. It can be a hookup that happened that was weird or bad or anything like
God,
that.
but aren't they all?
I mean, then you got a big old catalog.
I'm just gonna go back into my childhood, and I've already told this story, so I might as well just like, say it again. All right, here we go.
Or you can do that one or whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to do a different one, if you've already told that one, you can do whatever you want.
Hold on, can I go morbid and like
Yes,
talk about like
absolutely.
being sexually assaulted?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it
It's
because
gonna be your first sexual assault over sex.
Yep. All right.
Oh, that's sad. We're not trying to make it like a lighthearted thing, but this is my way of coping.
All right. Sexual assault. Here we go.
Yeah, sexual assault. Yeah. Do I start? You start. Okay, so when I first came here from the Philippines, I had to see a doctor for like an achy hip. And when I saw Dr. M for the first time, he said, "Let me give you a physical." So sad. And so I thought, oh, okay, he's going to check my hip. He's going to take my blood. He's going to do this. But Dr. M then says, oh, I have to check you down there as well. At which point I said, wow, American doctors are so thorough. My hip just hurts. But anyways, I said, okay, took my pants off. At which point Dr. M decides that he needs to probe my asshole. And every following doctor visit for the next 3 years, even if it was just for a runny nose, he would probe my asshole. And it wasn't until I talked to my sister and I said, hey, does he probe your asshole too? Is when she says, yeah, in fact, he probes my asshole and my vagina as well. And I ask her, wait, is this what he's supposed to do? And she's like, yeah, I think so, because he's just doing a thorough physical. That's what he's telling me. Turns out he was just a sex offender and he wanted to probe teenage asshole. It's so sad. I cry about it every night.
That was definitely the least sexy sex talk ever.
How sad is that?
It's very sad. I mean, this is definitely the first sexual assault we've ever had on Jeremiah Wonders, and if anybody is listening to this that has something weird going on in the doctor, just tell a parent or an adult.
No, but you know what's so weird, Jeremiah, is that like I honestly, because I was so new to the country, I just thought that this doctor was like fucking doing his job. I was like, whoa, I have pink eye and he's fucking checking me from the inside.
Oh, weird.
Because I was just a dumb, I didn't know.
Well, of course.
I was afraid of authority and afraid of anything of that sort.
You think especially whenever you're sheltered, because like you're very sheltered, you are so afraid of doing something that's either wrong or that you're going to get in trouble for that you sometimes go against your gut and you're like, no, they're the adult, they know what's best, and you don't think about stuff in those situations. So, I mean, as a kid, you're just innocent and you have no context for anything. So you're like, well, they're a professional doctor, so they're just doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah,
you think that your parents are not going to thrust you onto people that would do that to you because you think, this guy it's America. They don't do these things here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially coming from another country, like, it's so crazy.
I'm sorry to end on such a sad note.
How do we can fix this?
Yeah, let's fix this. I'm okay, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm totally okay. I think that the sax thing was really therapeutic for me.
There you go.
Yeah, and it helped me create a fonder memory of the experience. Now I have background music to my memory.
Right? You got some. What is it? There it is. You have a different memory associated with this now. We're gonna cleanse the palate completely. Now only good thoughts to leave you with this podcast on. Is there anything else that you want to plug before you go?
No.
What a weird question to ask right after that.
I want nothing plugged for a long fucking
She
time.
wants nothing plugged for a very, very long time.
But I do have a podcast, TigerBelly. You can find us on iTunes. We also have a YouTube channel. We also have a Clips channel that we just launched. And you can find me on also all forms of social media at Calamity K. That's KHALAMITY. K.
Khalyla, thank you so much for coming on Jeremiah Wonders.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're an amazing guest.
Oh, thank you.
So fun.
Jeremiah Wonders, Jeremiah Wonders, Jeremiah Wonders.